Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book review that we have written concerning Magna Carta. I'm recording this in the late spring of 2015 as we prepare for the celebrations of Magna Carta, which was granted in 1215. Now, the book that we're looking at is this one here. It's called Magna Carta, and it's a glossy book. It's got a subtitle of Foundations of Freedom, 1215 to 2015, and it's been written by Nicholas Vincent, see him at the top, and it's published by Lincoln Cathedral in association with Third Millennium Publishing, and that's the actual front cover there. Just to show you the dust sheet, you can see there a lot of information. There's a bit of information on the back as well about the publisher and everybody else. The book itself is quite a heavy one. There's a useful index right at the back. It's a glossy publication. There are also a load of appendices again right at the back, just to give you a lot of information. And then things like, for instance, all the people who are involved in Magna Carta are listed there. You've then got, as we go back, the actual text of Magna Carta itself in Appendix 1. If we go to the front of the book, these are the contents section there, all of which is an individual article by either Mr. Vincent or other people. Then you've got the actual publication itself. Lincoln, the Cathedral, which is shown exactly on the back. If you look, there's actually a picture of it on the back. Then you've got, as I say, all the way through, it's a glossy publication. I'm not going to go through in too much detail. Chapter 3 deals with Plantagenets, and then you go through the king's abuses. You can see how it's organised all the way through, and a very large amount of additional information. Then we go to a later part, Sir Edward Coke, and Selden is mentioned, of course, and then a whole range of other people. There's also a nice little divider, golden divider here, which is very useful. Now, that's the book itself. It runs to something approaching just under 200 pages. And this is what we say about the book. My wife Elizabeth and I have talked about this and a number of other books. We've visited Runnymede, and we've given the book review title this: Representing Mankind's Escape from Tyranny, a lively yet scholarly appreciation of Magna Carta. That's what you've got. It's not just a glossy book. There's a huge amount of information and everything you actually need to know all in one place, and it's been very well thought out and put together as a commemorative issue. What we say then is it's a lively, authoritative and certainly compelling examination of Magna Carta and its enduring impact on British history and world history as well. As I've indicated, this has been published by Third Millennium Publishing Limited in association with Lincoln Cathedral, and it's a beautiful book with stunning illustrations throughout and an engrossing narrative which is very readable. More importantly, it's an important work and an impressive work of insight and scholarship. In the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta, it presents the story of a document which, throughout the centuries, has been an inspiration and a mentor for all those who love liberty and who value justice under the rule of law. Heading a team of 5 experts on Magna Carta, the author is Nicholas Vincent, who's Professor of History at the University of East Anglia, and he's also, among his other credentials, a consultant on Magna Carta to the National Archives in Washington DC and joint curator of the British Library's Magna Carta exhibition 2015, which is currently on. Very popular and extremely difficult to get in and see, but they've actually got copies which are on display. Reminding us that Magna Carta is the most famous document in the history of England and perhaps the world, Vincent points out that, quote, it has been cited in parliamentary, congressional and constitutional debates more frequently than any other text, save only for the Christian Bible. In concise and fascinating detail, the book goes on to explain the many reasons why. The original purpose, of course, of the Charter in 1215 was to impose long-needed reforms on the corrupt government of King John, and there's a separate chapter by Professor Vincent on the tyranny of King John, who certainly was a tyrant with no redeeming qualities. Hell itself is defiled by the presence of King John, said the famous 13th century monastic chronicler Matthew Paris, writing in the 1240s. The book also features extensive descriptions of certain documents that preceded Magna Carta, notably the Chancery Rolls, which among other documentation provide much evidence about the king's system of imparting justice and the influence and intimidation involved. It's interesting to note here that justice could still be bought and that cases often went ahead only after painful delays, themselves the result of endless procedural complications or the sheer difficulty of access to royal judges, either at Westminster or on the localities. Unlike the number of other books published this year on Magna Carta, this book focuses first on the association of Magna Carta with Lincoln Cathedral and the castle itself. Lincoln, says the author, was a natural destination for one of the first copies of the Charter sent throughout John's kingdom in the summer of 1235, of which only 4 survive. The commentary here repudiates those, including some lawyers, who dismiss Magna Carta, quote, as a child of its time, concerned only with the rights of a few barons. They have ignored, insists the author, the Charter's enduring statements against arbitrary power and the principles of freedom under the law. If you are at all unsure about any of these points, buy the book and read for yourself one of its most useful features, the translation of the Great Charter's actual text, with a handy glossary, I hasten to add, and note in the final chapter its impact in the 21st century when, unfortunately, the freedoms it upholds are continually under threat. Also have a look at Appendix 2, which I showed you right at the back, which has the Magna Carta sureties, in which the 25 barons appointed in 1215 to enforce Magna Carta are identified, and they were of course supported by almost 2,000 other knights. Apart from being rather gorgeous to look at, this book is a valuable contribution to the general understanding of the significance of Magna Carta as a radical document, feared by tyrants everywhere, and therefore a precious legacy for all humankind. Everybody, not just lawyers, should read it, and it's a very good read indeed. I'd like to thank everybody concerned for producing this book, because it's really first class. Let's just have a quick look again. Front, side and back. And then if we just open it up right in the middle, there's a good example, a picture of Runnymede. It's a standard picture which you can buy in a little shop by Runnymede, and then there's the actual text itself, which gives you an idea of the seals involved. There's a lot of history that has gone into this as well. The amount of research is very, very noticeable, and as I've indicated at the back, you do actually have an extremely useful further readings section there. And just to mention again the glossary, because some of the words will be a bit unfamiliar, but the glossary is very helpful for the actual reading of the Great Charter itself, which is on that side there, and in fact starts, the text actually starts there. I'd like to thank Professor Vincent very much and his team for producing what is a first-class book, and to thank everybody involved in it, because this is an important year and we must safeguard the freedoms. This book in many ways explains how we've gone about it, and its value to all of us is really very high indeed. So thank you very much to everyone concerned. Bye-bye.